only. And so everything that I do say here, it's for education purposes. And so anybody that learns something here that goes on their own to make a decision, it's liable for their own decision, unless obviously they work with a financial advisor. So I just wanted to put it out there. So these are going to be based on scenarios, tailored, not specifically to anybody, but in general. So everything you learn here is for educational purposes here. And so if there's anything that you want, as far as your own personal finances are concerned, I strongly recommend the working with a professional advisor to give you the kind of advice that's tailored to your needs. So I hope this is well understood. I will go on to my presentation. This is a little bit about me. I wasn't sure, but this is a presentation that I use a lot. So most of you know that I'm married with 3 kids. I've been in the financial service industry for close to 5 years now. It's an area that I pivoted a few years ago, not really what I was planning on doing, but God took me to a different direction, and I have enjoyed it. I am a full-time independent financial advisor with a company called Faith Life, based in Waterloo, Ontario. I also work for a brokerage called Bridgeforce, also based in the London area. My area of focus is really financial planning. I hope that this presentation will give us some insight as far as what financial planning, especially for those that do not have one. As far as products are concerned, it's in the areas of, it falls under the umbrella of insurance, investments, and banking. I have a few professional affiliations for my growth and development as an advisor. As you can see there, one of them that I really want to just hone on is the Kingdom Advisors, KA Canada, which is a body of Christian financial advisors here in Canada and the US. There's about close to maybe 300 of us in Canada and maybe about 2,000 in the US. This is really where I get my convictions from, and being a Christian, sort of really looking at what the Bible says about finances, giving us a sense of direction and purpose as far as what we do and how we advise our clients. As far as what I do is very simple. I work with 3 markets: families, self-employed individuals, and small businesses. And really the focus is helping families, these groups, to sort of plan for their financial futures. One of them we're going to be talking about. Really, again, this is an area that I want to spend a few seconds talking about what makes me different from the 50,000 plus advisors or agents in Ontario. Really, it's about 7. I believe that I have the gift of teaching, and I've been called by God to serve. And one of the things I do in serving is what I do for work. As far as paid work is concerned, there are other things obviously that I do, but you know, when it comes to serving in the area of financing, it's mostly about teaching finances based on biblical principles, providing solutions, and also supporting my clients. Sorry, was there a question? All right, so we're going to go on. As far as products are concerned, again, talking about a little bit about me, insurance, investments, banking, investment loans. It's what I do mostly, as you can see on the screen with insurance. There's so many of them. Life, which is one of the things we're going to talk about, critical illness, A&S, health and dental, and all these. And these are all the companies that I work with, depending on what the client needs. We sit with the client and we try to come up with a solution. So all products do not work the same. Everyone is different. And so really it's what the person needs. And then we're sort of, based on where the person is going, we will try and figure out what they do. As far as investments, both registered and non-reg, and in banking as well, from mortgages to loans to business accounts and personal checking accounts as well, and also investments loans. Some of you may recognize some of these companies, but there's more of it. But these are the ones that I specifically focus on. I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about these few things, which I find is very critical. And this is an area where I have come under conviction as far as my mindset about money in general. I put up a few verses here, which is sort of something that forms the backbone of what we do, especially for people that are coming from a Christian background. The first principle, obviously, is the fact that God owns everything. And so all things come from God. We are stewards of what God has entrusted us. I like this place in Genesis where 39 from 4 to 6. And this is a story of Joseph in Potiphar's house, where when Joseph got to Potiphar's house, it says, yet his master saw that the Lord was with him, and he made him overseer of his house and put him in charge of all that he had. Really, when you think about it, it's pretty much God's fingerprint is all over what's happening here. And this is God saying that this is me, this is who I am, I own this, and I put you in charge. Potiphar was only an instrument that God used. And this is a story that reminds us that God really puts us in charge of what he has given us. The other thing I find is very important is the fact that God will hold us accountable for the resources he has entrusted us. This is the story from Matthew. There's a cross-reference from Luke. Really, the idea as Christians, we need to be aware that God is going to hold us accountable. And so the way we spend money, typically, our convictions come from the Bible. The idea that God owns it all, he has given it to us, and then he's going to hold us accountable. And so even though we're talking about insurance, I know someone is probably on the phone, on the line asking, what does it have to do with accountability? Well, finances is all about money. And so when you're spending money, you have to think about how you're spending the money, because the money you have, it's God's money, and he's going to hold you accountable. So some of the choices we make with money is key. And as we talk about life insurance, which is an area where most in our community, we find that it's really lacking. I find that having these personal convictions will really change our mindset about how we even look at money in general and how we want to use it. And like I said, this is something that I have experienced myself. So I know how, from experience, how it looks like. And also with my conversations with some of the people that I've met over the years, as far as what they want to do with their money, I find that when people are not at this place, it just doesn't make, it makes it very difficult to have conversations, especially when it comes to insurance. So today we're going to focus on insurance, life insurance. I was trying to point that my audience was the youth group, and clearly I can see there's a lot of people who are not youth, but I wanted to find a way to make this very simple. So we're looking at two sides of a coin. There's one side, which is you, and then the other side, which is an insurance company. So insurance, we're looking at what we call risk, which is the language we use in the insurance industry. So risk is anything that is uncontrolled, sudden, unexpected. So we look at death. We don't like to talk about death, but it's something that happens every day. So you can die what is known as premature, or you can die at an old age. But either of them, no one knows when it's going to happen, and it's something that we cannot control. We look at accidents. Accidents happen all the time. Some are very mild and some are severe. These are things we can't control. We don't know when it's going to happen. We look at property damage. We look at a house that's been damaged by a flood, a car, a tornado, or even a car accident. It happens all the time. Or your car could be in the driveway and something could fell on it. Sickness. There's severe and then there's terminal. And then income, we can lose income from all of these scenarios that I'm talking about. And at the same time, we don't know when it's going to happen, how we're going to control it. So these are risks. So these are things that will happen at some point in our life. And it's something that we can control. So an insurance company on the other side, it's sitting there, they have a coverage, they're ready to provide the coverage. And as you can see, I list some of these different type of insurance that are out there. Some of it, many of us are well aware of it. There's life, there's disability, there's critical illness, there's auto insurance, which is car insurance, there's long-term care insurance, there's travel insurance, there's business insurance. So that's what an insurance company has. So your risk, as you can see, is all in red, and an insurance company has a coverage. So what's going to happen is insurance is basically transferring your risk to an insurance company. So in a layman's term, as we can see now, the size of the coin has flipped. You give all your risk to an insurance company. They take liability, they assume liability when you go into a contract, and then you're paying some sort of a premium on a monthly basis. And then now all of a sudden, you don't have that risk anymore. What you're going to have is a coverage. And so when something happens, you're going to receive something back from the insurance company. And it's basically going to be either in a lump sum or a monthly payment. And typically, depending on what type of coverage you have, when you make a claim, you're using that money to take care of whatever that has happened. So you're repairing the damage, you're covering medical expenses. You're using the money to pay your rent or your mortgage. You're maintaining your lifestyle. You're using the money to take care of healthcare costs, education costs, and funeral costs. So this is what happens when you have insurance. So basically, in a layman's term, again, when you don't have insurance, it's known as it's called risk retention. So you pretty much are holding on to your risk. But the moment you buy insurance, depending on what type of insurance you have transferred that risk over to the insurance company. So now you have been proactive, and knowing that if something is to happen, you have coverage. At the same time, you have that peace of mind. So in a nutshell, that's what insurance is. I intentionally put all these different types of insurance because the reasons why we buy any type of insurance is the same, regardless of what type of insurance we have. And so we know that based on facts, people have different reasons why they buy insurance. For instance, when we have life and auto or travel or loan on mortgage, if you are having one of these insurance and you're not having the other, then that means you're probably not understanding what insurance really is, because they are the same reasons why you buy an auto insurance or your car insurance. But not having insurance on your life or your mortgage or your income, it doesn't really add up. And that's why I intentionally put all of these here. So when you clearly understand what insurance is, you realize that they're all equally important. I have a video that I'm going to show that will talk a little bit about life insurance to make it more simple for us. It's only 1 minute, so I'm just going to share my screen again, and we're going to watch that, and we're going to come back to my presentation. So just give me a minute while I set it up. Where is it? All right, so we're jumping back on the presentation. Just gonna share my screen here. Where are you? So we're going to look at some quick facts about life insurance, and then we're going to go on. There are basically two main groups. There's what is known as the temporary and the permanent. So there's three main parties on an insurance contract. There's a life insurer, there's an insurer, and there's a beneficiary. So the person whose life is insured is a life insured, and the insurance company is an insurer. And then there's a beneficiary. Typically, when children have life insurance and they're under 18, they will need a trustee. Most life insurance, most life insurance needs to go through an underwriting, which is a process to get life insurance. The exception is when you are in a group plan. In a group plan, mostly offered in the employment area, you don't typically go through underwriting. When you apply for insurance, it can either be denied, it can be rated or approved. Denied means it's been turned down. Rated means because of a health issue or maybe your lifestyle, you're going to pay more, or it's going to be approved at what is known as a standard rating. So life insurance, the money you pay on a monthly basis is called premiums. It's based on your age, your health status, and the type of coverage. So the type of insurance really depends on your needs. The other thing that I put here is that, you can have multiple insurance for different needs. You can have insurance that just covers your mortgage or even your loans. So having one life insurance, it's okay, but depending on where you are in life, you can have multiple life insurances. So many times I find people say that I have insurance when they bought like 10, 15 years ago, and they have a different need and it hasn't been insured. So we just have to be careful about that. So the question we really ask with our clients is, what's your most important asset? The average Canadian is probably having some sort of insurance. Most of us have it. Anybody that drives has a car insurance. But when you look at the type of insurance people have, usually life insurance is not on top of our list. It's usually nowhere or even at the bottom. And again, I go back to what I said before. When we understand what insurance is, it is no different than making sure that we're having all types of insurances in place. So the question is, what is your most important asset? Your most important asset is yourself. It's not your house, it's not your car, it's not your money, it's yourself. Your ability to be healthy and work and earn income is your most important asset. When you're sick and you can't work, you can't earn income. Or you're disabled and you can't work, you can't earn income. Or nevertheless, when you're gone. So again, I'll speak more of this down the road. So typically, disability is the type of insurance we encourage our clients to have first before even life insurance. And then we have other things like health insurance before we even talk about home insurance. Car insurance is important, but I don't think it's more important than your health, yourself as a person. So there was a study that was pretty much looking at why people don't buy life insurance. There's so many of them, but the one that I want to focus on, because we don't have a lot of time today, it's no one thinks about death or that they will die, which is what typically why most people don't have insurance, is because they don't think that they will die. That could be up for debate, but the reality is that we all know death happens. The average life expectancy in Canada is 83. So most people lived around 83 in Canada before they die. But the reality is not everyone gets to 83. And this is from Stats Canada in 2021. So we're going to look at why really people should think otherwise about life insurance. According to the Canadian Cancer Society, 2 in 5 Canadians are expected to develop cancer during their lifetime. About 1 in 4 Canadians is expected to die from cancer. On average, 232 Canadians die from cancer every day. So this is just a chart showing us the leading cause of death in Canada. And this hasn't changed much. Cancer is the number one leading cause of death in Canada, as a matter of fact, in the whole world, followed by heart diseases. So we see the importance of health. Obviously, when we talk about finances, one of the things we say is that everybody knows they're supposed to sleep well, eat healthy, rest, and do all that, but not everybody does it. Everybody's supposed to know that they're supposed to have a good diet, but not everybody really does it. Accidents is the third leading cause of death in Canada. I'm going to focus on accidents for the purpose of this presentation. There was an event that happened last summer in Barrie, which is just most of us know where Barrie is. This happened on July 15th. I have someone who is very close to me who lives in that community, and this was heart-wrenching because I kept calling, and I was like, "Where are you?" There's been all over the news. I was watching the news. There was a tornado that touched down in a community in Barrie. The interesting thing that the last time this happened was back in 1984. Almost, I don't know, 25, 30 years. As we can see, this picture is very staggering. You know, we have a brand new community where people's houses have been ripped apart by the tornado. And as you can see, some houses seem like they haven't been touched. Now, the question is that I don't think if any of these people knew there was going to be a tornado, they would have bought a house in this neighborhood. Never alone even move into the house. But it just happened. Even though Environment Canada had the warning a day or so before, it happened, and it happened so quick. And there was a devastating damage to some of these homes. This house in particular, I wanted to bring in focus. This was one house that was really damaged. And this is when, as human beings, people generally, when something happens, is when we realize the true meaning or importance or benefit of insurance. In this house, I hope nobody was in this house, because I don't know how anybody will survive. And if they had survived, they will have a severe damage, maybe disability, maybe permanently disabled. But the reality is that if insurance now all of a sudden is important, right? Because something has happened that we couldn't control or stop from happening. So now you need insurance to come in and assess the damage and hopefully make a claim and get the money to fix the home or buy a new home. There was another incident that I wanted to bring up. Again, here's a photo of someone's car. We've seen some of the damage, and all of a sudden, you can have your car, your house, even your life. So all of a sudden, you have about 3, 4, 5 different types of insurance that has suddenly become important. There was an incident on Boxing Day. I wanted to bring this in focus. This happened in downtown Toronto. This was very sad because there was 2 cars that collided in this area downtown. I think somewhere around the Richmond Young area. Now, when this car collided, what happened was it rolled over and it went on the sidewalk and it hit 8 people. And one of them that died was an 18-year-old. And as I was reading, I was following this story. It obviously, hearts goes out to the family of this person, of this young man, 18-year-old, probably beginning his life. And he died on January 1, on New Year's Day, 2022. This 18-year-old died. And this is someone that casually went out with his friends. Maybe they went shopping, they went for a drink, just minding his own business, and he died. Now, the reality is that one of the things we see in our community is when it happens like that, we see what we call the GoFund. We see GoFunds go up and a lot of money is raised. But an 18-year-old, the reality is that he should have had insurance bought by his parents. And again, I don't think anybody knew this was going to happen. These events happen all the time. So I'm going to show another video before we move on. And this is a video of a family that had a death occur in their family. So just bear with me. I'm going to share my screen again. This one.
I think the audio is not coming, so if you can check back on it.
The audio is not playing. It's not coming.
No, it's not coming.
But the video is playing.
The video is playing, but the audio is not coming. Because you are doing a plugin, so check your audio. Maybe when you are sharing it, you have to activate the audio when you are sharing your screen.
He loved to get up early and go to the gym, and he really was a good husband.
Is it working?
Yes, it's working now.
Husband and father.
He was very, very kind-hearted.
Everything that he did, he wanted to do it right. He had a plan for it.
Bill worked for AT&T right out of school and just kind of worked his way up from that until he got his dream job. He ran the executive briefing center. He wanted to stay within the company because of the benefits, and he'd been there long enough that he knew that he wouldn't be able to replace that if he went somewhere else.
Bill had disability coverage through AT&T. They were both short-term and long-term disability. And he also had coverage, life insurance coverage through his employer that was a multiple of his salary, and he bought all the extra that he could. And then Bill and Connie both got individual policies, and on top of that, with his retirement benefits, it made sure that Connie and the girls would be in good shape.
Summer of 2003, he thought that he had pinched a nerve. He noticed weakness in his right arm, so we went to the doctor, and they said, "Oh, you probably pinched a nerve." Then it kind of snowballed from one doctor to another.
It took a long time to get a specific diagnosis that Bill had Lou Gehrig's disease.
It just started very slowly, and then as we got into high school and as I got into college, it started to get worse. He couldn't really do any physical activities.
Connie was the woman who kept things going at the house. In this long illness, she was there in really remarkably for Bill the whole time.
The girls and I took complete care of him.
So I would go to class every day, and I'd come home in between classes and hang out with him and make sure he was okay.
It was the weekend of Thanksgiving, and Bill was really struggling to breathe. We went to the hospital and put him on oxygen. Sunday morning, I got a call from the nurse, and I knew that couldn't be a good thing. And she said that she couldn't wake him. Bill's death was hard from the point that I lost my best friend. I lost our future.
After Bill passed away, I was really glad that we had spent as much time on the planning. The insurance money really has provided the ability to make up some of the income that she lost because of his death, and to be able to replace some of the income that would have been there had he been able to continue to contribute to his retirement plan.
After everything that has happened with my father, I definitely think of life insurance differently. Even though I am so young, I do think that it's important to get a life insurance policy. It was actually one of the first things I did when I was looking for a job, was making sure that, you know, in the benefits package there was an option of life insurance. And my husband and I both have life insurance policies, and that was actually one of the pieces of advice that he gave us when we first got married, was to make sure that we got life insurance.
Bill's greatest wish was that we would be able to go on and live in a similar fashion than we had while he was here and while he was still working. It's hard enough losing somebody, but then having to worry about how you're going to make your mortgage, how you're going to put food in the fridge, gas in the car. You know, it's a tremendous relief to not have to worry about that. Life insurance has really made a difference in our lives.
Okay, so we're going to move on. I have a few slides left. Going back to this, 3 quick observations. The family recognizing value of insurance from day one. So we saw from the video, and again, this is a real life story. There's so many of these stories, and I just wanted to show, especially with the children at the end, recognizing the importance of insurance. They got it at a younger age. And I wanted to show this video, knowing that my audience was the youth group, to show them the importance of life insurance. The other thing that I wanted to touch on was the fact that you can't buy it when you're sick or when you're diagnosed with some kind of a terminal illness. It just doesn't work that way. So it's very important for us to have it at a younger age. So my understanding was this was a youth group, so I came up with a case study that we're going to look at for the next 5 minutes, and I think that should be it. We're looking at Rachel, who is 24 years old. She finished university a year ago, and good for her, she's landed her first job, and she's going to work, and she's going to make a little bit over $45,000 a year. Rachel now, obviously, she just came out of school. She has $18,000 of student loan. She has $6,000 of balance on her credit card. And she has about $1,000 saved. So I sit with Rachel and I asked Rachel what her goals are, which is really the first thing that I will ask when I work with my clients. She has a plan to save money to buy a condo. She also wants to get married before she's 30, which is understandable considering that where she is. Now, the problem is Rachel is not even thinking of any type of insurance, which is something that we find with almost everyone. And again, we don't think of it because of so many reasons, but the idea that it will not happen to me, it's just the way most of us look at insurance. So what I'm going to do when we are working with Rachel, we're going to work sort of on a planning, financial planning focus. We're looking at building a house. We're going to start from the bottom. We're going to look at managing risk, which insurance is one of them. We're going to look at these things first, and then recommend it to Rachel, and then she would decide what she wants to do. Many a times, what we find is many people are saving to buy a house, or for whatever reasons, most people are saving to do different things, but we're not taking care of the things that will prevent us from doing that. If you're saving a lot of money and you're not protecting your income or yourself, then all those plans will crumble if something happens to you. So based on Rachel's situation, this is what I will recommend for Rachel. The first thing is that she has $24,000 in student loan and credit card payment. Credit card loan. So I am going to put a plan for Rachel, 24,000, to see how fast. At 24, at any point in your life, basically, debt is the number one thing that you need to worry about first, because if she's able to manage her debts well, chances are she's going to have a good credit score. She's going to build a lot of credibility, and she's very young. So we need to take care of that, because if she's not, then it's going to be a problem down the road. The other thing is I'm going to consider an emergency fund. We're going to use a high daily interest or TFSA, depending on where she is. The next step is we're going to recommend a disability and insurance plan. Again, typically, you want to look at a combo plan, but for the focus of this presentation, I'll focus more on life insurance. Again, we're more worried about the financial foundation of Rachel, especially since she's so young. We want to be able to help her to manage her money wisely and put the proper planning in place, especially managing risk. Now we're going to be focusing on down payment for her condo. And the recommendation is, let's look at the savings for the condo in a year from where we're started now, because the condo is important, but these other things are more important. The other thing is a will and a power of attorney. One of the things we advise people on is to have a will and a power of attorney. I'm not going to go deep into this because that's not the focus of this presentation. A power of attorney is very important. In Ontario, if there's two major categories, when something happens to you and you don't have it legally bind in writing, your wife cannot even make a decision. Your husband, it has to be legally binding. And so there's a lot of things that can happen. And again, this is what essentially is financial planning. But now we're going to focus on life insurance. So when we're working with clients on life insurance, then this is how we do it, and this is how everybody should do it. So our focus is today. What does Rachel need today? She has debts, $22,000. We're going to estimate around $15,000 if she is to die. And from conversations with Rachel loves the church. Rachel wants to leave some money to the church when she's died. So we're going to put $10,000. She wants to put at least $10,000. So we add that. So when we add all of them up, you're getting $47,000. Now remember, she has $1,000 saved. So that brings her insurance needs to $46,000. Again, this is assuming that Rachel dies today. We can assume that Rachel is going to live another 20 years, another 30 years, another 40 years. We don't know. Our focus is today. So if Rachel should die today, all these needs are taken care of. Her debts are paid off with the insurance money. There's money to bury her. And then the $10,000 goes to the church as her wishes. Now, the idea is that when you're single, you need a sedan. You don't need a van. You worry about a van when you're married with the kids. So we're not going to tell Rachel to go buy a van. We're going to tell her to get a sedan because she's single. So as we can see here quickly, I'm starting to run out of time. I recommend a $50,000 whole life policy. This is a par policy. It's going to cost Rachel $54.45 a month. Now, this type of policy, it's insurance with savings as well. Now, she's going to pay for 20 years. Hopefully, she does. If Rachel keeps this policy and she's still alive, by the time she is 60, the death benefit has grown from $50,000 to a little bit over $100,000. And she still has close to about $44,000 left sitting in the account in the insurance policy that she can take. Now, if Rachel decide that she doesn't want, we can see how this looks like. Like I said, insurance rates are based on your age. So at 24, it's going to cost her $54. Now, as you can see, insurance premiums are higher for men than for women because the mortality rates for women are a bit lower than men. Women live longer than men. So the insurance mortality rates are not the same for both sexes. Now, assuming that Rachel didn't get the policy and she waited till age 30, now it jumps from $54 to about $66 at $35. As you can see, the older she gets, the insurance premiums get higher. And this is one of the reasons why a lot of people don't have insurance, because they wait, and it gets, the premiums go up, and all of a sudden, they don't even buy it. Now, another example here, a 30-year-old assuming a 30-year-old needs $1 million of term coverage, which is the other type of insurance, which is really just insurance. For 20 years, we're looking at $54 for a male and female. As you can see the difference. But as you can see, at different ages, depending on what your age is, the premiums are higher. Now, I know I have people even now as I'm talking who are telling me they're going to wait, but the reality is that you don't know you're going to live. And even if you live, you don't know what your health is going to be. So the slightest change in your health can not let you get insurance, or you can be rated. So your premium is going to be very high. The reality is that death is inevitable. We can't control how we will die or when it will happen, but we can control the financial impact on the people that we love, our family, when it happens, especially if it happens prematurely. Life insurance really is not for us. It's for the people that we love, that we will leave behind when we die. I go here at the few first references here, 1 Timothy 5:8, where Paul was encouraging Timothy, and he talks about the fact that a believer who doesn't take care of his family members is worse than an unbeliever. The reality is that if you're putting money, if you're working hard and you're taking care of your children or your family now, and you're not putting some of that money away to buy an insurance policy, you're basically not doing what you're supposed to do if you're not buying an insurance policy. Because if you die, there's no money coming in. How are they going to survive? Now, you put all the burdens on your family, the funeral, and so many things. So really, as a Christian, not even having an insurance policy is unbiblical. Because we see here in the Bible where we're supposed to take care of our families. We're responsible for our family. So, you think about the bigger picture, the financial impact that it has, regardless of what age you die, right? You're going to be, your funeral expenses and all those things becomes a burden on your family members. So really, insurance at every front, it's really important. And as Christians, this is why I put up those verses to help us understand that it's our responsibility to take care of the people that God has entrusted us with. Everybody has that responsibility. So if you're doing it for your car or other things, you might as well do it, because the reality is that when you're gone, it becomes a burden. Your debts, your mortgage, all those becomes a burden for the people you leave behind. That really is the real benefit of life insurance policy. So I will stop here, and Cecilia, let me know if there are any questions. If there's not any questions, then I think that should be it.
All right, thank you so much, Brother Kwame. Does anybody have any questions for our brother? Any questions? Well, I do have one. So at what age should a youth person get insurance?
So, sorry. The reality is that typically any child, as soon as a child is born, there should be an insurance policy where typically what happens is that as the child grows and becomes an adult, that policy is converted into a longer term policy. But as soon as you start working, assuming that your parents didn't buy one for you, you should be buying one for yourself at any point in time. Now, if you're under 18 years old, chances are you're not working. But as soon as you hit 18 and you're still alive and you're working, you should buy something. It's better to have something than to not have anything at all. So we see in Rachel's case, the scenario that I showed with Rachel. Rachel has an opportunity to spend that money that can grow over time, but at the same time, she's earning income. She's going to have other responsibilities in her life, so she should have it right away. Because, like I said, there are so many stories of children dying even before they're born or when they're born. There's every age, every stage in life. Death can happen at any time. Even if you die at the age of 100, you still need money to be buried, right? And if you don't have insurance, the reality is you must have some money saved. But most people don't have any money saved. And so that becomes a burden on your family. So everybody at any point in life should have insurance. So for a youth, if you don't have one, if your parents didn't buy one for you, then you need to see someone who can help you get something, at least to cover your funeral debt, your funeral expenses, any expenses and any loans that you have at that age, because that will become a burden on the people you're going to leave behind. So insurance, as soon as you're working, you should buy your own insurance if your parents didn't buy one for you.
All right, thank you. Uncle Isaac, you can ask your question, please.
Okay, good evening, my brother. Okay, can you throw some little light on the differences between the term insurance and then that life insurance policies? And which one do you recommend?
It depends on what stage you are, but term, it's typically used to cover insurance when you are starting in life, when you have children, when you have mortgage, or when you have, so you use term to cover when you have a lot of needs. Typically, people who are in their late 20s, early 30s, all the way till 60, between 30 to 60 is where term insurance is really important. But even you can use term insurance for any time. For instance, if someone is 50 years old and they have a child today, the older you are, the probability of you dying is higher. So you can buy an insurance for, say, a term insurance at the age of 50 let's say you can buy a term insurance for $50,000 for 20 years. Now, the purpose of that insurance is that between the age of 50 to 70, if you die, that money will come and it will be there for the child that you had to finish school. So that will be the reason why you're buying term insurance for 20 years between the age of 50 to 70, because you had a child at the age of 50. Now that child, assuming, will live to 18 before they go to school. And then the reality is that you could die the next year, and then what happens to that child? So you want to put an insurance policy in place so that if you die, there's money for that child to finish school. But most times, term insurance are for young families between the ages of 25, 30. And you want to have a term insurance so your last child grows up and finish college, because the financial impact is bigger when your children are growing up and there's a lot of needs. When you have mortgage, remember, mortgage, when you have a house, it's not paid off. It's really not yours. So the only way to ensure the house remains in the family is to have an insurance policy in place so that it pays off the house and there's money for the children to finish school. So everybody at any point in life can use term insurance. It can be 10 years, it can be 20 years. Some companies even offer 5 years, I think. So you can buy term insurance at any point, but term insurance will only pay when you die. And so, yeah, it covers you for a certain period of time. And if you don't die within that period, there's no payout. The only time a term insurance will pay is when you suffer a terminal illness. A lot of companies will give you a portion of that money. For instance, if you're diagnosed mostly with cancer or any disease that the doctor said you're not going to survive, insurance company will give you a portion depending on that company. So it's very different from different companies. But term is usually when you need more insurance. Like for myself, I have a young family. I have the financial impact of my family is really huge. So I need $1 million. I cannot afford to buy permanent insurance. So term insurance, it's what I use for now. If it's to happen, if it doesn't happen, then I use permanent insurance. Permanent insurance will cover you to age 99. It's the only insurance that will cover you to age 99. So we use permanent insurance for funeral expenses and for estate planning. Like if you want to leave money for your children, you can use that as a planning. But permanent insurance is because the premiums are high. Typically, depending on what stage you are, the focus is on your funeral expenses and any final taxes you're going to have. So you have taxes that you have to pay to the government when you die in Canada, regardless of what age. Even when you have money saved, there's a lot of taxes that you're going to pay. So you use part of the insurance money to pay the taxes. so that your family can keep more of the money when you die. And of course, for your funeral expenses. So it depends on what age and what stage in life you are, but you can use term insurance at any point in your life.
Thank you very much.
Does anybody have any more questions for our brother? Any more questions?
All right, so I have my concluding slides. I'm just going to go over my concluding slides if there are no questions, and then we can. Just give me a second. So, knowing that my audience was mostly the young people, I wanted to throw this out, the do's and don'ts. And this is just a piece of advice based on what happens in the industry. Again, we've talked about the importance of insurance. Don't procrastinate applying for insurance because the premiums will change based on your health. Sometimes a minor change you will not be able to get insurance if there's a minor change in your health. Some companies will offer what we call guaranteed, but you don't get a lot, maybe about 50 to 100,000. That's all you can get. But imagine that you have a growing family and you have more needs and you can only get 100,000. So insurance is when you are in good health or wherever you are in life, if you don't have one. It is better to have some coverage now than anytime. And again, you can replace your insurance policy anytime and buy a new one or buy more when you think you need more. I recommend buying insurance with it. Don't ever buy insurance without the assistance of a professional or online. Especially today, there's so many places you can buy insurance online. Don't do that. I know that because I'm speaking from experience. I have made some bad choices over the years, and I have learned my lesson. The other thing is you need to know the insurance company, the history. Some companies take a long time to settle claims when there's death. You need to know that. Again, don't lie when you're applying for insurance or provide false information. Obviously, they will find out when there's a claim and they will not settle the claim. Many times people settle for the cheapest prices when they shop around, which is fine to shop around, but sometimes $5 more can be better. And again, there are other things that you can look at when, and this is where really it comes down to working with a professional than buying online. Or there's a lot of people who are just insurance agents just to make extra money. I don't recommend buying insurance from them, but you want to buy from someone who really will have the time to, know what your needs are. Insurance plans can be converted. Like, for instance, you can have a term policy and you can convert it into a permanent policy. So you can have a term 10 for, let's say, $500,000, and you can convert some of it, into a permanent policy. Whenever something changes, we need to review our insurance plan. Some people buy insurance and they don't touch it again, or they don't even know what is included in their policy. Whenever there's marriage, new baby, mortgage, whether you're refinancing, you're buying a second property, before renewal, new loans, again, like I said, when you die, the financial impact is what we're looking at. You're leaving your debt to your family to really take care of it. And if you have any assets, that's going to be taken away. So you're really not doing much. And, we want to think about the, my last slide here. Again, as I looked at the Rachel's case, Rachel was not thinking about insurance. I hope, hopefully she will take the advice that we give her, but planning becomes essential. This is a place in Luke where Jesus talks about the fact that for which of you desiring to build a tower does not first sit down and count the cost, whether he has enough to complete it. Many a times we're worried about the end, the result. We're not worrying about what's going to stop us from getting there when something happens to us. Protecting our families, ourselves and family, that is having an insurance coverage, is not a choice. I think it's an act of faith. When you buy insurance, it's an outward expression of your faith. It's an obedience to God. And again, I go back to 1 Timothy 5:8. If anyone does not provide for his relatives, and especially for members of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. So you're working hard and you're paying the rent or your mortgage, and you don't have insurance, and something happens to you, and your family is suffering. There's no difference with someone who's not doing it when they're alive. The reality is that it's your responsibility to take care of your family. And even when you don't think you're going to die, buy something that will take care of your funeral. At some point, you're going to die. I know somebody here on this line whose grandmother passed away at 117. But the reality is that you're going to die, and that, whether it's $25,000 policy that you have just to take care of your funeral costs, do that. And so that's the last piece of advice that I have. And I will stop here.
All right, thank you so much for the call. There was just one comment on the chat from Brother Justice. He said, Brother Kwame, you owe me. Please, how do you plan to pay me? So, so I don't know who's that Brother Justice.
Sorry, what's the question again?
No, he said, Brother Kwame, you owe me. How do you plan to pay me?
Sorry, I'm not getting that.
It's like an inside joke.
Okay.
Somebody that knows you.
Okay.
Yeah. But apart from that, thank you so much, Brother Kwame. We really do appreciate. We also want to thank our brethren from US, our DYO, who's on the line as well, and other members of the Mission Youth Ministry Division Development. We want to say thank you so much. Once again, Brother Kwame, thank you so much for talking to us about insurance. I hope most of us took notes and how to be careful when we're shopping around for insurance. So thank you so much once again. We'll ask our Reverend Sylvester Wusu to give us closing prayer and benediction.
No questions.
Just ice is DYO's, Brother Kwame.
Sister Celia, I think Uncle Sumwa wanted to say something.
Okay, Uncle Sumwa, if you can say, you can go ahead, please.
I really don't have anything to say. I was wondering whether there was a question time or Kwame can let us have his contact. If someone want to contact him for further explanation, I think it will go well for all of us.
Yes, sure.
At least his phone number will be well for all of us.
All right, sure. So, Brother Kwame, how can a person contact you in case they have more questions?
So I think let me go back. Yeah. So my email is there. If there are any questions or comments, complimentary insurance review, no life insurance or others, even if there are other types of insurance especially with, I will use this opportunity to say this. I notice there's a lot of people who are not young people, obviously. Long-term care insurance, it's one thing that I guess I will say. Typically for people that are over 50 years old, we've talked about life insurance, but the reality is we are living longer. But the problem is we're living longer with a lot of, from arthritis to people are living longer. But long-term care insurance is something that will help you, especially when you hit 70 plus and you're not able to work and you need a nurse to come home or go to or even, one of the things we talk about insurance planning is even retirement, how retirement is going to look like. So any questions around that? No financial plan. I work with a team of other professionals that can help you as well. And so regardless of what you need, one thing that I did not talk about and if I knew we're going to have some old audience, I would have included that in the presentation, is the fact that insurance is used as an estate planning strategy. And estate planning is insurance is the number one way you can ensure that you preserve the wealth that you create, your assets, the money, the houses, when you die, to make sure that houses are paid off. There's a lot of tax liability when you die, especially in Canada, depending on where the money is. And typically insurance is used to make sure that those taxes are paid, regardless of when you die. So you can keep those assets in your family for your children and even for your grandkids. Last thing I want to say, you can purchase insurance for your grandkids as well. Oops, sorry about that. Was it me or was it you, Cecilia? We're just scribbling here.
No. It wasn't me.
That's you? Okay.
No, it wasn't me. It wasn't me.
It wasn't you?
No, okay. It wasn't me.
All right, so I'm not sure what happened. But yeah, even for those of us who have grandkids, one of the things I've seen outside our Ghanaian community, when we work with people, a lot of people use insurance as an estate planning, as a way to pass on wealth to their grandkids, and something that we can use, we can think of as well. So like I said, insurance is really not for us. If you take away the fact that there's money coming to bury you, everything else just is really for the people you're leaving behind. And so any questions, my number is there, email is there as well, and we can talk about that.
All right. Does anybody have any last questions before we end the program for tonight? All right. Okay, Cecilia, if there is no questions, I want to close off in prayer, if that's fine. No problem.
All right. Father in heaven, we thank you again for this time spent here online. Thanks again for technology. And Father, I just go back to your word in some of the biblical sort of the Bible verses that we briefly looked at. We didn't really have a lot of time, but as I think of the fact that you are the creator of all things, you created all things, you give us all things, all resources come from you, particularly money, but also the fact that you've given us all wisdom in life to really make choices, decisions about us. We know very well that this world is not our last stop. We're just here for a few times, and we're going to be joining you. My prayer is that, as we talk about insurance in the context of death, it's really, sometimes it can be very convicting. It can be taken differently, but I hope that you open our heart. No matter who is on this line, everybody needs life insurance for different purposes. And I pray that we will be able to see that spiritually, we will have those convictions in our lives when we spend time with you, that you will speak to us through your word and help us to understand why we need to plan and just not wait for something to happen. And also think about the accountability portion of it. That one day we're going to stand in front of you. You're going to hold us accountable for every single dime that you've given us on this earth. And I think that's more important. We want to be faithful. We want to stand in front of you, and just like Paul said, as a faithful servant and steward of your resources, we'll be able to give a good account of the resources that you gave us, the time, our talents, the knowledge, and the money. Help us to use these things wisely for the benefit of ourselves, our family, but more so for you. Help us to advance your kingdom so that, Father, your name will be exalted everywhere that we find ourselves, and you will receive the glory. As we depart, I pray that you will be with us, and your grace will be sufficient for us, and it will be in abundance as we begin a new week, a new year. My prayer is that you will be with us, and you will visit us throughout the year. You will protect us. COVID is around. I didn't talk about COVID. COVID there, it's crazy. But Father, you are with us. You have not given us a spirit of fear. You have given us a spirit of power. Power that comes from your Son, Jesus Christ, Father, whom you loved so dearly and you gave himself up for us. Jesus is our hope, not insurance, but you have given us the knowledge to make wise decisions whilst we are here on this earth. Thank you and give us the grace, the courage that we need to make these decisions for ourselves and our family. And as Christians, help us be a light in a world that is dark, it's so dark, so that everybody will see the good works in us and come and give you glory. We thank you, Father, for all you have done. In your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much, Brother Kwame.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it. Good night.
I miss you, Kwame. Okay, good night.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.